Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome back to Kingfish Simple. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys all the information you need to know on how to care for the neon tetra. So this is probably one of the most common fish in the entire aquarium hobby. In fact, I heard some ridiculous number. These guys are sold in their millions in the US per month, because you can obviously understand these guys are obviously very beautiful. They have that beautiful blue line and they really do create like a centerpiece fish in an aquarium without being a centerpiece fish at all. So these guys are super popular, and in today's video I'm going to pretty much give you guys all of the information you need to know on how to care for these guys and keep them alive in your aquariums, and some little things that you should know here and there to make this as easy as possible for you guys to take care of them and keep them in an aquarium. So make sure you stay around to the end of the video to get all of the information, and also for the YouTube algorithm. So consider leaving a like, because it really does help this video out. And without any further ado, let's get started. So the neon tetra is considered a very easy fish to keep in the aquarium hobby, and that is definitely true. So these were in my first ever aquarium that I kept these guys with some guppies and some platies and things like that, and they were super easy to take care of. I didn't run into any problems with these guys. They pretty much take any kind of food, like some tropical flakes and little micro pellets and things like that, and they just fit in great because the neon tetra is a super peaceful fish. It's not an aggressive fish at all. It's not going to attack fish in your aquarium, and it's not going to attack other neon tetras and things like that. So they are very peaceful, and they're also a really good community fish. So you guys can keep them in an aquarium with some fish that don't have big mouths, because these guys are very small. In fact, they're under about an inch in size when they're fully grown, so they can fit in a lot of larger fish's mouths. So it's important that you don't keep them in aquariums with angelfish and cichlids and things like that, because it's just going to be an absolute nightmare. But these guys go great with guppies and platies and all sorts of fish like that. They do an absolutely awesome job of creating this awesome display in the aquarium. Now these guys are a tropical fish. They come from the Amazon, which obviously doesn't really matter now because they've been kept in the hobby for so long, but they do come from the Amazon, so they like to be kept in a more tropical conditions of water. So basically in your tank you're going to want to have at least a 10-gallon tank, and if you're going to keep them in a 10-gallon tank, I'd recommend to keep 8 to 10. I wouldn't go over 1 fish per gallon, because you're obviously going to overstock your aquarium. But if you guys have a 10-gallon tank, 10 of these guys is going to be really good. They like to be in schools because they're a schooling fish. They're not a great schooler. They kind of get lost sometimes because they're a very small fish. So I don't know if they're stupid or whatever, but these guys will go around the aquarium and they like to school. So I don't keep them in groups of 1 or 2. You want to get at least 8 of these guys, and they're going to do really well for you. And like I said, you want to keep them in an aquarium with obviously a filter. So I'd recommend keeping something with a very low intake, like a sponge filter. But if you guys already have an aquarium and you want to keep some of these guys in it, make sure you guys get an intake cover. If you guys have a hang on back filter or something like that, and this will make sure that they don't get sucked up and you don't lose your fish to your filter, because that can happen because these guys are very small. And then they also do love a bit of warmth, like I said before. So you want to keep them at about 72 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 22 degrees Celsius to about 26 degrees Celsius if you guys talking Celsius like I do, and that'll be a perfect environment for these guys to stay in. Now these guys are omnivores, so they like to eat plant matter, and they also like to eat obviously meat. So it's important to feed these guys a variety of different foods. Now often what's going to happen is when you go to your fish store, they're going to try and sell you something like this. So some general tropical flakes, and I don't have a problem with tropical flakes at all, but they're going to say that you can just feed these and they're going to be absolutely fine. Now, yes, that's true. They will be absolutely fine, but we don't want to keep our fish absolutely fine. We want to keep our fish in the best conditions possible and give them the best life possible. So what do I recommend? I recommend feeding a varied diet. Now, this isn't hard at all. It's definitely a fact that you guys are going to get more color and better health from these guys, and obviously more activeness running around the aquarium and creating an awesome display for you if you feed them a variety of different foods. So this isn't hard at all. Don't click away. These guys are still easy to take care of, but I'd recommend feeding a variety of different dry foods. So some tropical flakes like you see here, some really good high quality micro pellets are also going to be really beneficial for these guys. But in more specific, I definitely recommend feeding some frozen foods to these guys. So you can get away with some frozen bloodworms and things like that, but they're often a little bit too big to fit in their mouths. So I definitely recommend feeding some frozen baby brine shrimp, and they're going to absolutely love that. So you only need to feed that once or twice a week. That'll add enough variation in their diet to give them a really good varied diet and give them a range of different nutrients and things like that. So some frozen foods are going to be really good, but if you also want to feed some live foods like live baby brine shrimp or Daphnia or things like that, if you want to delve into that stuff, go ahead, the world's your oyster. But it's definitely not necessary. Just making sure that you don't feed only tropical flakes is going to make a huge difference to the health of these guys and the enjoyment you're going to get out of them. And then I'm also going to mention another thing that I think is really important for these guys, and that's keeping them in a planted aquarium. So obviously a lot of people, when they get sold their first aquarium, they add something like blue gravel or something like that to the aquarium, and it makes the aquarium look kind of corny. Trust me, I did it. My first aquarium had blue gravel in it. I thought it looked sick. I definitely don't recommend doing this. Keep them in an aquarium with some live plants in there. The live plants are going to be super beneficial for them because it's going to help cycle the aquarium and get all the nasty stuff out of the aquarium. It's also going to make them feel like they are at home. Like, fish don't normally see big giant pirate ships and things like that. Keep them in an aquarium with some driftwood and live plants and they're gonna absolutely love it. So now if you guys really want to get like deep into this, they're a black water fish, so they come from water where like obviously it's very dark and full of tannins from wood and things like that. So if you want to mimic this environment, I definitely recommend adding things like Indian almond leaves to the aquarium and things like that, which I do, and this brings the pH of the water down and makes it a little bit more dark and a bit more rusticy, and they're gonna really love that. So they don't like very intense light, they're like very low light, and that's why they have that natural blue stripe, because that's just how it develops in the wild, because they need to like alert each other of where they are in the water. I thought that'd just be something I mentioned, but these guys, again, really awesome beginner fish. They're one of my favorite fish in the entire hobby, and if you guys are looking for something to add a little bit of like taste to your aquarium, these guys are going to be an awesome fish to add to a community aquarium with some guppies and things like that, like I said before. So these guys can be a little bit sensitive to sudden fluctuations in water, so it's really important that when you get these guys, you acclimate them properly, and I'd recommend doing a drip acclimation system. So if you guys want to see when I first got my neon tetras, there's a video up here you guys can watch, and that was when I first got them, and I did a drip acclimation. So it's super easy to do, and it's going to stop them from getting shocked when they first go into your aquarium and causing problems with that. So when you do a water change, be sure to add water that's very similar to the water that's in your aquarium, and don't like shock them, but just try and keep your aquarium as consistent as possible with some plants, things like that. It's gonna be super easy for you to keep these guys, and I thought I'd just mention that because I don't want you guys to run into any problems keeping them at all. Okay, so I was just editing this video and I completely forgot to talk about another topic that's really important, that's the illnesses that these guys get. So neon tetras can be quite susceptible to some diseases. Now, there's a bunch of different types. There's obviously going to be like ick and fin rot and stuff like that, which are very common. And there's also a disease called neon tetra disease, which is obviously very descriptive. Basically, this disease can go through your aquarium and completely like contaminate all the fish, and there's not a cure for it. So it's really important that when you guys first get your neon tetras to like really inspect them and make sure that none of the fish in that tank have any of these problems. So don't buy any neon tetras with cysts and big white spots on them and stuff like that, because you're just gonna run into a whole world of trouble that I don't want you guys to run into. And another thing I'm gonna quickly mention is that once you do get your neon tetras, medicate your fish once you get them. Try and use obviously an antifungal and something that's gonna kill worms inside of them, and you won't run into any of these problems. So quarantining your fish is gonna be really important, because these guys, because they're so small, they do have sometimes really bad immune systems, and just because they've been kept in aquariums for so long. So I just thought I'd quickly disclaim this because I don't want you guys to run into any issues at all. And that is pretty much going to be it for these guys. Like I said, a really cool beginner fish, something that's affordable, something that looks really cool, and something that's easy to take care of in the hobby. So these guys aren't going to be as easy as endlers and things like that, but you're going to have a lot of fun taking care of them. So that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.